It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. My friends, you have found me on a Friday. It is the end of yet another work week, and for our Masterpiece Friday video this week, I am going back into the Daily Doug vault and I am releasing a reaction that I did to Ommadawn Part 1 by Mike Oldfield. This one was heard as part of a recent fan favorites video that we did over on Patreon, where we were listening to some of our favorite longer, epic tracks. And this one definitely applies. It's a side-long track from Mike Oldfield, and it garnered enough votes to make it into our video, and I very much enjoyed it. After hearing all of his Tubular Bells a few years ago, it was time for some more music from Mike Oldfield, and so I was very happy to have a first-time listen documented to this experience of hearing Ommadawn Part 1, so I am proud to share my reaction and analysis to Ommadawn Part 1 by Mike Oldfield with y'all now. So, first up is Ommadawn Part 1 from Mike Oldfield. This music has been on our master list for a long time, and I've just never gotten around to it yet. I have heard all of Tubular Bells from Mike Oldfield. Those two episodes are from December of 2021 and July of 2022, respectively. So it's been too long, over 2 years, since we've gotten to music by Mike Oldfield. And this one comes to us from Joe. Thank you, Joe. Joe says many of Oldfield's fans consider this his third album to be his best. There is little point in trying to describe it. It's all dancing about architecture, after all. But this music still gives me goosebumps after all these years. Thank you, Joe. I'm looking forward to hearing this one. So I did a read-in myself, and the more I looked into this one, the more interesting it got. Y'all, the album was released on Halloween Day of 1975. It was, well, I should say this. His debut album was Tubular Bells, and that was an unexpected and commercial success, unexpected critical and commercial success. And after a lackluster response to his second album, he began to work on this follow-up, and he was determined to prove that he wasn't just a one-hit wonder. So he did have the good fortune of working at a studio called The Beacon, which was near his home in Kingdom, Herefordshire. And he had convinced his label, Virgin Records, to install a 24-track studio at that location. And so he got 24 tracks to have fun with. And just as he did with his first two albums, this album has a single composition that is divided into part 1 and part 2. And each part takes up an entire side of vinyl. The lyrics that are here are not meant to mean anything substantial. Mike was more interested in having vocal sounds and not necessarily sensible lyrics. According to his autobiography, we learned that there was an Irish musician that he was working with named Claudia Simmons, and she wrote down the first words that came to her head, and those words were "Daddy's in bed," "The cat's drinking milk," "I'm an idiot," and "I'm laughing." That was then translated into Irish for the song, and then the words were scrambled, I think. And without a lyric sheet on the album, Mike was, I think, quite successful in having the lyrics to be not meaning much by the time that everything was said and done. So Mike serves as producer and engineer here. He also is on, like he was when we heard Tubular Bells, on a bunch of instruments. He's on guitars, he's on a mandolin, a banjo, a harp, a spinet, a grand piano, some organs, some glockenspiel, some other percussion, some synths. He's on a lot of stuff, and he has many other musicians that are joining him this time. We've got, it's a bunch. I don't want to name them all, but we've got some recorders. We got some pipes. We've got some timpani, some cello, trumpet, some African drums, some looks like female vocals. There's some percussion. There's a brass ensemble that appears. So we've got a bunch to listen to, y'all. So let's sit back and relax and see what Ommadawn Part 1 from Mike Oldfield has in store for us. Here we go. It's already enchanting. I believe he's in F sharp minor. And it's static on that one chord so far. If those are real vocals in the background, that's amazing. Beautiful. Chromatic scales. It's not in F sharp anymore. Interesting pedal point there that was used as he went around. He's back in F sharp now, but he slipped down to F, and then it was off into like all white keys for a bit, and then slipped back into it. How the melody is exploring the stereo space. It's like a person playing guitar and serenading us by walking around us. There it goes down by step. Now it's F. C, the bass went down to B flat. And down to G. Full step. So F. Back to C. B flat. So back to G. It's the same, but it's not. Did he do it based on F sharp? That's the F sharp. It's like he did it on the F sharp instead of starting on the F. on an expectation, an expectant, like it wants to resolve. So that sounds like 5 to me. That's an E. Stays there. So that's D. I would hear that as a 4. Major 1, A. Flat 7, G. It's the E. Which I almost hear as an extension of the E that he's had before. So all of this feels very expectant. Like it's the warm-up act for something that's going to follow. But the longer he stays there, the more it starts to sound like home bass, doesn't it? There's the timpani. That also makes it sound like a dominant. There's the brass ensemble. Okay. New section. You get a different kind of wind instrument. Now a recorder. And a banjo? No. Amazing transitions, quite different ideas. Resolves up to, they had switched to A, and then, so if that was a deceptive resolution, resolves up to F sharp. So we're in F sharp now. But not like F sharp minor like at the beginning. This is F sharp major. Very bright. It's not an orchestration you hear all the time. That's a lot. No, I was wrong. That's soul. Sounds a little bit like some Steve Howe, right? The really clean, fast guitar. So it modulates from A to E. I love every bit of this, y'all. I love the percussion. I love the way it sounds. I love the voices. That sounds like. I'm glad I didn't say it because it wasn't. Almost sounds like a train whistle. Those recorders. It's amazing. Intervals. Sounds ancient, especially with those tribal drums. Sounds like low marimba. Step, down another whole step. But it's minor. Flat 7's minor. That doesn't happen very often. So it's minor 1, I think, on F sharp. Of course, there it sounds major. Down to 6. Minor flat 7. I wasn't crazy. There I heard him say Ommadawn. this is setting in. It's amazing. Sounds like Enya. Carl Jenkins. Have any of y'all heard his music? Audiamus from him reminds me of this. That was cool. That sounds like the entire ensemble getting in the mix. Understand how to set a tension point and stretch it out. Because that held stuff in the bass. Sounds like a 5 to me, not 1. Step. Sounds amazing. That's some long-term tension building. It's really successful. The guitar is my least favorite part of this. It's an interesting way to do a coda. That's how I'm interpreting this. Curious as to how long this will be, to kind of allow us to put all of it into context while we're still getting sounds. The percussion that undergirds it never stops. And all of the weight that we add to that rhythm that's undergirding everything just comes to a climax until it just can't hold itself anymore and just comes crashing down. You know, I only had one puff of this. I think if I went into this pre-enlightened, that would have been a pretty darn fun little roller coaster ride through all of those ideas. They're so well put together, and he's got a special talent for weaving melodies. The counterpoint in his melodies, in his counter melodies, and all of these different layering ideas, that's what keeps our attention and keeps everything moving forward. The chords are moving relatively slowly a lot of the time, and he's really slick with how he uses his harmonies, but I don't hear much of like extended techniques. It's all relatively straightforward, like undergraduate, underclassmen harmony. You know, there's not a ton of chromaticism unless we're moving places, right? And when he does that, he tends to start with whole steps, and that breaks down. But he was also doing those chromatic scales as well. Lots of color in that. You know, the Tubular Bells has such an iconic main theme to it, but I gotta say, I think that one's musically superior, just based on a first-time listen. And I haven't heard part 2 yet, but I thought it was really successful. And yeah, he's the real deal. A lot of talent in that family. We heard music by his sister, Sally, on our last Doug on Demand. It was wonderful, wonderful music. So good on you, Oldfields. Well done. It was a really enjoyable listen. Just wonderful music, right? It kept my attention for the entire side, and that's what we ask for from these longer tracks. They've got to have not only the melodic and the harmonic stuff that brings us along, but it's got to have those transitions and those differences that really provides a narrative as we live with this piece for a longer period of time than a normal rock or pop song, right? So I am really eager to get to side 2 of this Ommadawn project from Mike Oldfield. I'm not sure if I'll do it here on YouTube or over on Patreon, but I'm hoping that it won't be too long before we get the exciting conclusion to this really wonderful music. So thanks for hanging out with me today, y'all, on this Masterpiece Friday. I believe that is all for us this week, but we've got a lot more coming up next week and in the weeks to follow. I thank you for being with me, and we'll see you next time on another edition of The Daily Doug.
It's the Daily Doug. Welcome to the Daily Doug. The Daily